All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the July 18th meeting of the Open Space Committee. The meeting is being broadcast live tonight, taped for rebroadcast. Is anyone else taping anything, recording anything? No. Okay, so discussion items. The open space plan updates. I know in our last meeting you gentlemen told us that you had finished your updates and that everything had been submitted to the state. Have you gotten your final approval?
Yes, if it's okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to read a letter we received from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, as dated July 12th, addressed to Mr. Lesperance. Says, thank you for submitting Auburn's open space and recreation plan to this office for review for compliance with the current open space and recreation plan requirements. I am pleased to write that the plan is approved. This final approval will allow Auburn to participate in DCS grant rounds through November of 2021. Congratulations.
Wow, hallelujah. That's wonderful news.
Did we give us what we want?
It gave us what we wanted.
Yes.
Well, yeah, so it's done. It's over with till 2021.
Correct.
And now you guys can search for those grants.
That's right.
Great.
Excellent,
Congratulations.
Excellent, yeah, all right.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm just glad to hear it's done. So now you can take that element into the master plan committee, right?
Yes,
So that will be a huge portion of that.
that's correct.
That's great. And then you've got some grant funding on your own for some other parts of the master plan, right?
That's right. We, as mentioned in the past, we had the Economic Development Grant from the
Yeah.
Community Compact for $25,000, and recently today I learned that we received $25,000 for the housing portion of it, for the planning assistance for
did?
housing, yes.
Oh,
Received
that's
word of that
great.
today as well.
Wow.
That's great. That's 3 huge pieces.
Yes, it is.
You guys should be well on your way. That's great. I know we don't particularly have it on the agenda, but some of us went to, all of us I guess, went to the
Yeah, that was it.
the meeting on June 30th at the high school for the village district overlay. And I thought, I don't know what you all thought, but I was really excited about what transpired at the meeting. I was happy to hear some good ideas and happy to see some of our business communities on board with the concept, at least with the ideas. There wasn't a total rejection. I thought that was wonderful. So how does it stand now? Are the consultants still evaluating the data that they got from that meeting?
They sent us a draft evaluation of that data for us to review and
They
reply.
did?
Yes, and from there, once we give them some feedback, they'll be able to respond with a formal recommendation.
That's pretty quick turnaround time from them.
So would there be a public hearing pretty soon then?
Yes, once we get that information, we'll decide how we want to present it, using which board or committee as the public forum.
Well, that's wonderful news. That's just great. No, I was very encouraged by that meeting on the 30th, so you'll have to keep us informed
Me too.
as to how that's going to go.
Oh,
Okay. Did anybody else have any comments about the June 30th meeting?
I just wonder where all the money's gonna come from. Just some good ideas, but I wonder if it actually is gonna happen.
Well, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Margarita, she had told our group, well, you were at the same table as Louise and I, and she had said that it could happen, but it would probably take 10 years. You know, it's something you have to keep working at. It's not going to happen overnight.
correct.
It'd be great if we could take a magic wand and just wave it and change everything, but
Right.
I just thought it was a very positive first step, really.
I think there were a lot of good ideas thrown out, and the commonality between the 3 groups was notable. That there was it wasn't like some, group of people went totally in one direction. Everybody seems to be thinking
The same,
and focusing
yes.
on some great things.
Right.
Whether or not it's possible, I still debate that myself, but I'm more than willing to listen to ideas, because I think that if we got to start somewhere, and it would be, some things would be nice. The question in my mind has always been, have we just come too far as a community? I think,
I wonder that too, but I'd like to hope that there is
like I
possibility.
said, I had keep an open mind on this, and I think that there are always possibilities. Funding is another matter.
Right. But I think just the idea that you had quite a broad spectrum of people at the meeting. I mean, I thought you had a pretty good response, considering what some of us have been through in the past. And a lot of those same ideas were vocalized in the last master plan. relative to the village district. You know, we were looking at the zoning changes of close to an overlay district, so I think maybe that's a good option. I'm not quite sure how that overlay district would impact, and I know we're digressing, but I don't know how it would impact on the mall overlay district.
That was something that came up in our group actually, John, was should we include them all in this overlay district
Yeah.
or not? And it's just having all these ideas pulled
Yeah.
together gives us a lot of things to examine. Find out
Things to
what-
think about.
That's right.
The only thing is the mall gonna actually do it? Sometimes you get resistance from them for some reason. Some things I want, you know, that's what I think, you know?
Right, and through the chair, it does depend on what we're deciding for Drury Square, and does any of that stuff contradict with the regional mall overlay special permit
Right.
requirements? A lot of examination will have to go into that,
One step at a time.
of course.
I just thought it was a very positive first step, so.
Yes.
And that's great, your open space plan, hallelujah, is 2014 is approved, so that's great. All right, the town-owned property review. We've been carrying this for quite a while. I know we've talked about the neighborhood maps and that. The South Old Road recommendation for use. I think we've been carrying that just for the sake of not forgetting that it was something we wanted to talk about. I don't know if that's something, as far as the neighborhood map reviews, I don't know which direction the committee wants to go in with that. We've been talking for a while about studying Packagug Hill first.
Yeah, I think,
You know, I don't know if that's still where we're at with that.
actually, I think so.
Could I just make an observation, please? We have the animal control officer here,
Oh,
and I would make a motion to move up item 2C.
Well, I didn't know
second.
why she was here, because
Second.
someone told me, so.
I'm just guessing
Yeah.
because it says dog park, and Amy has something to do with dogs.
Second that.
Let me write that down. All those in favor?
I,
So we'll take out of order the discussion about the dog park assessment. I only put it on the agenda because I didn't know if there were any updates from the last meeting,
Sure.
so.
I'll segue into it and you can take over, but since our last meeting, we gave a presentation on some options for 12 parcels of land that were being assessed for a potential dog park in town. Dog park being a grant-funded opportunity, it has to be on town property. Since that time, we've put together 2 separate surveys and sent them out to the residents of Auburn and got some feedback. And we're in the process of going over that data now, and Amy's been in contact with some of the residents regarding their opinions since our first meeting. She may want to provide further insight on that.
Yeah, so through the information that we've gotten from the residents, we kind of gave them what we considered the 6 best options. In the surveys, I believe that was Julia Bancroft, the Packagug Golf Course, the Boy Street Tot Lot, Camp Gleason, the small piece of land at Lemansky, and the Senior Center. From that 6, we've kind of narrowed it down a little bit more just from the public opinion. The general consensus that we've gotten from the public is that Lemansky Park and the Senior Center just don't offer enough space, and that there might be too much conflict between children and the people that visit Lemansky and the seniors at the Senior Center and the Packagug Village.
Yeah, agree with you, yeah.
So of the 4 that are remaining, has there been any, I don't know, any significant feeling one way or the other on any of the 4 that are remaining? Like Camp Gleason?
There's a plus, yeah, I think it's water.
So there's a lot of feedback that we've gotten. So it seems like consistently the remaining 4 have been pretty even.
Oh, really?
Camp Gleason has gone either way. People either love the idea of Camp Gleason or they absolutely hate it. But
Okay.
there's still a good portion of people that picked Camp Gleason as one of their top options out of the 6. But it seems like there's also a portion of people that are opposed to it just because it's a little bit more remote than some of the other places.
Did everyone in town get a survey?
I was
No.
gonna say, I didn't get one.
It was an electronic survey through a free survey service online. We just sent it out through social media, just to some of the people that attended the meetings. They've, since that meeting, have created their own group on Facebook that has maybe about 200 members. So we sent it off to them to try to have the target audience.
So how many surveys did you send out?
Well, it was those 2 surveys. The first survey had, I believe, over 200 responses. The second one, 150, around there. So there's been a decent amount of feedback from people.
Did you get any feedback from residents that they absolutely did not want one?
It's a mixed bag.
Really?
Yeah, I
Really?
don't
Wow.
think there was anybody in the survey that said they didn't want one. I think,
true.
yeah, people that took the time to fill out the survey were mostly people that wanted the park and wanted their opinion heard. I haven't had too much response from the public that said they absolutely don't want it. Some people just don't see that there's a need for it. So I think that's the biggest pullback from people, but those are
Do
mostly
you know-
non-dog owners.
Do you know how many registered dog owners there are in the community?
As of today, there are about 1,900, and I think the last number I saw was 49. So,
1949? Wow.
yeah.
It's a lot, No,
Wow.
that's it.
And there's still more that haven't licensed as of yet.
Yeah.
So there's probably well over 2,000 dogs in town.
It is remote. That's you're out in the woods down there. That's a problem. Bubba Highway, they involved with this too? Because they got the wood shop down there.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get feedback from other departments soon to see what their view is on what we've considered our top 4 options, and to try to get some feedback. Maybe they have some options that we didn't think of, or maybe they're gonna view some of those ones that we kind of left out a little differently.
To further Amy's point, we did bring this to a DCG meeting soon after our first meeting here with Open Space Committee. But that was prior to the surveys going on. And we introduced all 12 sites. One of them was eliminated right off the gate, was Holstrom Court, because by the Water District, they have Zone 1 wells over
Right.
there, and it just wouldn't work for him. So that one was taken right out of consideration immediately. But now that we have some more survey data, and we're working on going through some of the information, such as how many people said this park but also live within proximity of it, and it's in walking distance, and that's the preferred. So there's a lot of different questions that we kind of shape the data where we can come up with a good analysis. And as Amy said, present that again to the DCG with some findings for another recommendation.
Now, are people concerned about the noise from the dogs? Like that tot lot, for example, on Boyce Street, that's right in the neighborhood.
Sure. And for that one, for one anyways, that one had a lot of people in the area who chose that one as their first choice because their primary attribute for a park was within walking
They
distance.
live right
of their
down the
home.
street. Mhm.
Right. So that's just one example, but some of the factors we put on there were some of the attributes that they want. Do they want shade, walking distance, site lighting, open 24 hours, things like that. But so going to run the data different ways to see if it's biased opinions of people who just live in the area or not. So we got to try to work those out.
Sort that out.
One of the things I think should occur at some point here is surveying the abutters. Because that really concerns me. You know, I mean, we talked, I happen to live near the Boyce Street tot lot, and I know there's no parking. So aside from people walking in, I don't see how that would work. Even considering as a top of 4 sites, it just doesn't make sense to me without extensive work again on that piece of property, which never happened for the sake of people or kids. But so I hope that that's within the the schedule of things to do.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up through the chair. This is still also very preliminary.
yeah.
We're only surveying one half of the audience, as you mentioned. So no matter what, when we do narrow it down to it might even be the 4 candidates, or whether it's 3 candidates or not, that public hearing, abutters, that will happen.
You could have a good crowd here.
We have to
Could be
have
town-
the high school.
Could be the high school, could be next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly not just this
Well,
room.
definitely at least next door, I would think. Now, I know, I know we're probably getting ahead of ourselves, but Amanda had said at the last meeting that the average dog park size is like 30,000 square feet.
That's right.
Now, if you've got 2,000 dogs, and I know they're not all going to be there at the same time, but are there any guidelines out there as to how you determine what size of a dog park you need or would be recommended if you have that many dogs in your community? Or does that have nothing to do with it?
Well, what we would do presumably is examine some of the existing parks, maybe even look at how many licensed dogs they have in their towns. I don't know about Sutton and Millbury combined, but that's 2 towns having a park for both.
They share one?
Yes. So examining other examples would be probably a good way to get that ball rolling anyway. Anything further?
Pretty much what you said. I mean, like some of the parks, when you get closer out towards the Boston area, since there's less open space there, some of those parks do tend to be smaller, but they also have more parks scattered in different areas. But again, there's a high population of dogs in kind of like Boston, greater Boston area, not much space for them to run, but they still seem to manage pretty well with smaller size parks and a high number of dogs.
Yeah, well, you know what the hours are for some of these places? I don't get ahead of ourselves here, but I wonder.
Most of the time it's like dawn to dusk or like 9 to 6, 9 to 4, depending on, the light change. Yeah, and the time of the year. Most parks, close by the time it starts to get dark.
They're not open in the wintertime, are they? Or are they?
I believe most of them are.
Really?
They're open year round.
Wow.
I don't think they shovel or plow other than, the direct pathways to get in and out. So people who have dogs that like to play in the snow.
Wow. Interesting. So where do we go from here? What's your plan? You're going to be working on sorting out the data that you've gotten back, feedback?
I'm presenting that to the DCG for town department feedback.
Okay. So do you have any particular schedule set up for completing the task of reviewing the data, or is it just...
We set up weekly meetings to review some of the information. They're Tuesdays, and I'm anticipating a DCG meeting next week.
Okay. So this isn't something, it'll probably be like the end of the summer before you have any conclusions.
Yeah, our overall project idea would be to collect all the information we can, narrow it down to some candidates, and then over the winter get in any and all permitting we need, public hearings, etc., and hopefully have a proposal and a grant application by springtime with a chance to build. But
so you would get the permitting before you even apply for the grant?
it would be
You would?
wise to do so, yeah. Even if otherwise we're kind of wasting our own time on the grant. They'd give us a design phase anyways, so if they're funding the survey, I suppose we do that part first. We're not going to get the construction half of it until it's approved. Some parks, I don't know how far we're going to get into it, but some parks already offer some key amenities even in their current state, so that's why they may have scored well on the test versus an open parcel of land that has nothing.
Right.
So I'll use a Toddler just as an example because it's about 1.5 acres of space. It has a driveway, it has a wall, which is kind of a fence, it has public utilities, but then again, its detractors are like parking, proximity to neighbors, things like that. But it has those other 4 things that gives it a high score in our original assessment. So
Got trees, got
Got
shading.
shade, exactly. So there's a lot of data to weed through and present and get feedback on from both sides of the argument, for and against the dog park.
Okay. So it's going to be a while yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of information to go through.
I think that the being as close to shovel ready is a good thing, and we obviously have a group of people in town that are very well motivated, and if we don't have a grant, I can see this group helping to get things started anyway.
Sure.
I mean, again, you can make steps in the right direction, and volunteers are great in getting those types of things done, and they just seem very, very nice and very, very interested in getting this accomplished. So, hats off to them.
So you could always form a friends group and 501(c) and raise money. Right. for the dog park if we don't get the grant, or if we don't get sufficient grant funds to cover the cost, considering how much it's gonna cost.
Right, and through the chair, that goes to the point of if you have an area that's already kind of developed, and all you have to do is slap a fence around it and put a well in the ground,
Right.
and add the little seesaws or
Doggy.
obstacle things.
That's a lot less.
The grant's not gonna be as much, and
Right.
so,
And then you could probably use some of those funds, I would imagine, for maintenance and stuff too, couldn't you?
I'd have to double check, and maybe Amy knows offhand, there's some form of a match on it. I think it's 90% of construction is done through the grant, and 10%
We have to
is
match, I think.
responsibility of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it can't be in kind.
That's correct.
That's what Amanda said at the last meeting, which I thought was interesting. Okay, was there anything else that you would like to add, any of you? Okay, so somebody will keep us informed as to how it's going?
If you'd like.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be interested in seeing, once you've compiled your data, I'd be very interested in seeing the results.
Okay. I guess what I'm wondering is, I'm not sure if we're going to have a lot of information before the next open space committee meeting. Do you want to carry this on to the next agendas consistently, or just as it comes in?
We could do it as it comes up,
Okay.
you know. We were discussing whether we were going to have an August meeting, so we'll see.
Okay.
But anyways, I really appreciate the three of you giving us some insight as to what's going on. It's nice to hear, to know what's going on in our community, Anyways, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to come to the meeting.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay. So, that's good to know. So now, we're done with our dog park discussion, so we're back to our maps and our South Old Road. Do you guys have to leave at 7? Okay.
We're moving along then.
Yes?
I could stay. They don't need to stay. I'm not going to represent the town.
All right, so getting back to the discussion about the neighborhood mapping, I guess what I'd like to know is, where does the committee want to go with this, and how do you want to broach the subject?
I thought we were going to start with Package Hill first.
Right, we are, but what do you want? I guess what I'm trying to understand is how and what do we want to accomplish by doing this, and how are you going to go about it? I mean, you're going to look at a plan, but what are we going to do with it? I mean, we've looked at the Packagug Hill plan. We've looked at what's town owned. We've looked at the proximity of parcel to parcel. We know it's still privately owned. You've got it up there. So what's the, I just am kind of trying to understand if there's a method to, if this is something like we're going to be like carving this trail as we go along, or do we have a method in mind? Yes.
I think in my mind, we have a very large, very unused piece of open space, and that's okay. But I question, the town spent or is spending, well, it'll be well over $3 million to buy the Southold property, and it would be nice to have some of that used to benefit the citizens of Auburn. And I know that there are things that are taking shape, and I'll throw this back at our planning guys. Can we assist, whether it's through ideas or examination of certain things, to see if there's a way to open this up for people to use? Or are we just spinning our wheels that work that's already being done?
Are we talking about the South Old Road properties specifically?
I think that whole region, because it's all connected, and because of that, I think it deserves a pretty good examination. And I know it's being done in a way. I guess the thing is, if you put a committee with 5 other people involved, can we help with that? Or is it really not necessary? You don't have to answer that right away. You can think.
Okay.
Do we have a committee with 5 other people on it that are looking at what to do with Packagug Hill?
Not at this time.
I think it's us.
I mean, this qualifies as open space, all of it. whether it's recreation or, not used at all. So that to me is within the charge, if you will, of what an open space committee would be looking at or doing.
And through the chair, the committee has a pending recommendation to the Board of Selectmen from way back when they bought the property. And we decided to table it and review before making that recommendation.
Right. Passive, we were talking about passive recreation uses.
But it has,
Did I hear a comment over here?
yeah, you did. It has to be all town, like, could you use it for other things, but it has to be town, like, a
Well, it has to be for-
cemetery or...
It has to be for municipal use, at least for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
As it stands right now, we can't make any revenue off of it for the 10 years while it's held in a non-taxable municipal with a bonding, right?
Correct. Without paying substantial penalties.
Right, I mean, you
Right.
could, but you'd have to convert the borrowing into a different type,
That's right.
right? So I don't know what the financial ramifications of that are, but I'm sure that there's probably penalties associated with it.
Yeah, our town accountant was not interested in exploring that switch. So,
That bad.
yeah.
So that kind of, it's not that it can't be used, it can be used for municipal use. We just can't garner any kind of revenue from it
That's right.
while it's in the non-taxable status.
Correct.
So if you wanted to do something where we made absolutely no money, that's really kind of where we're at, for that. Unless we were able to persuade him to
I don't think so, no.
do something else.
Well, I think our original recommendation that this be a municipally financed project was in the best interest of the finances of the town, and I think we need to stay on that course. I just see this as a huge amount of space that it would be nice to do something with it. And it doesn't mean that we generate revenue. I mean, having walking trails isn't going to generate revenue, but, and maybe there's an update on that. I mean, you guys, that is in progress to look at it. So, do you have anything on that?
It's still with engineering right now.
Okay.
They're designing the path based on the survey information.
Do you actually know it's gonna meet the American Disability Act codes? Because Trappist does not.
It likely couldn't just because of the elevation. It
Yeah.
drops like 90 feet from the top
Down?
all the way down total. So that pinch point, that 12-inch point's mostly wetland too, and it has to go through its notice of intent. So it's, there's so much there, and if the town were to invest to make it
Not gonna
ADA
work,
compliant in any sense, they'd be spending probably more than they bought on Southhold if they were to do the
Because
whole
of,
thing.
of wetlands, you're saying, or?
The drop, I think you said, right?
Yeah, the
The
elevation,
elevation. Original there, too.
The topography and
the elevation alone,
It is a hill, I suppose.
I think at some point they can
pretty steep
explore
over
a
there.
shorter track that's ADA compliant, but the entirety of the trail system would not be possible.
Possibly.
right.
So you've previously mentioned that 12-foot triangle. Is that all wetlands now? Now, I've been in many places like Audubon sanctuaries, parks that are near the coast where they have boardwalks through wetlands.
That's right.
Is that a doable thing?
That's what I'm hoping to see as a recommendation from
Okay.
our town engineer,
Okay.
that there is a way. So,
Because that's all changed, right, since the Pappas complex was built. The character of this land has obviously changed.
our survey flags are now about 6 months old, so hopefully we have something in place before they expire. It's a 3-year on the flags, I believe, so some time.
I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Newton Hill in Worcester. They just used, I want to say it was donation funds. They installed, it's along a path that's already created, but it's basically, outdoor exercise equipment. Different poles and pull-up bars and jump bars, and they kind of, each station has a little guide.
Where is this?
It's right across from Elm Park,
Okay.
on the other side of Park Ave. And, they're not making any money off of it. And it's just a, I don't know, it's, you know, something that that citizens, people in the neighborhood, whoever wants to come in could use. And I could envision something like that on that larger parcel. If there's a, you know, a loop trail that, if you're just imagining, you know, starts at that South Whole Meadow Road and you come down, you loop the large parcel and come back, and you could do stations along there. Or,
I think that's an interesting idea. Definitely worth exploring. You know, I mean, to me, anything that makes it more attractive to different segments of the population makes it more valuable to people. I mean, one of the things I've heard over the years about the Pappas complex is, well, I don't have any kids, you know, and let's face it, there's a limited amount of stuff to do up there if you're an adult, besides maybe walking on the trails or, you know, an adult league or something like that. But if we can come up with a plan that really gives many citizens a use or a destination, I think that's a great thing.
right.
Same idea as the dog park. It gives a, you know, it's something that may not meet all citizens, but at least it meets obviously 2,000.
Segment of the population. Yeah.
I think in order to consider anything at this parcel, if I may, it needs parking.
That's a
One way
big
or the
thing,
other.
yeah.
If we could, at least, if the committee is inclined to make a recommendation to pave a certain portion of this thing and allow parking to access this for passive recreation use, it couldn't hurt.
Has engineering looked at that at all?
I don't believe so.
Because I mean that is a huge problem, and I've brought that up before. It's just, it's like a great place that you can't get to, and that's not useful.
Right.
Without having impact on a specific neighborhood or something like that.
They use every parking, like 4th of July, use every parking lot they can get.
So, you said you're still waiting on engineering design for your trails.
Yes.
Do you have a target date for completion for that?
The original deadline for the trails was June 30th, this past June. We got an extension for 1 year.
1 year?
I hope to have something from engineering before the end of the summer, so we can file our notice of intent with the Conservation Commission.
So you have until June 30th of 2017?
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's kind of, go ahead, Mark, sorry.
Yeah, the other thing, the idea to put some, like in the walking trails, this is really too, like emergency phones down there, just, I don't know, a lot of people have cell phones, but like emergency phones go into like a fire station or 911. And then there's all walking trail stuff.
Certainly worth the discussion for it. I know what we anticipate is having certain points throughout the trail where you have a base map with a star and the location of you are here,
Where
so
you're
folks
at,
know where they are.
But I'm thinking for emergency reasons to have a box phone.
That's certainly worth noting.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I think most people carry cell phones now.
I know, but
I mean, and I realize that there's some that don't, but usually a cell phone is not terribly far away. But you bring up a good point, and I think it deserves attention to look at.
If you happen to be there and your cell phone battery
Dies.
died, at least there'd be somewhere the way for you to call out for help. Or you lost your cell phone and got smashed on the trail. Then what are you going to do?
yeah, down there you're in trouble.
So, the engineering department is looking at a trail design, but they're not doing anything with parking, is that correct?
No.
Okay.
No, at this point, with the concept that we've been working with, the parking would begin at Pappas.
Correct.
But wouldn't you agree that it would seem as though, to me, the South Old Road parcel, to me, would need parking of its own, closer than going all the way from Pappas through that 12-foot wide wetland, trying to get up here. to the South Old Road property. I mean, some of us had talked about the fact that, you know, if you go down Curtis Street to the end and then you're on that dirt road part, that's where the beginning of this property is.
Sure. And,
You know, you want to have parking on that side.
sure, and to support that could be part of our in-kind contribution to add parking right there.
Right.
It's not something we're anticipating, but it's a dollar amount.
Right. But I mean, even if you're going to have some sort of passive recreation activity on that side from the Curtis, from that dirt road, I don't know if they still call that Curtis.
No, it's goes South Old Road, yeah,
something
like
like that.
it's Worcester.
You know, to me, you'd need parking on that side. You know,
Wasn't there gonna be a subdivision down there? They're gonna asphalt all that? They're gonna bring it to code?
it isn't going to be any kind of a subdivision anytime soon.
No,
That's
like
why we spent $3 million to buy it.
Well, I meant on the Curtis Street side. They're
I
gonna
don't
put
know,
housing,
I don't know
yeah.
about that. That's what's.
Oh, Mark, you're correct. Through the chair, there was a 7-lot subdivision approved in April last year. And they were supposed to do some road improvements to the front, but they haven't moved forward with a covenant or anything on that subdivision since it was approved. And they still have to go back to conservation. Going for
And
an
whose subdivision was
RDA,
that?
got a positive RDA, and they never came back. So,
Who was the
it
proponent?
was Rocco Antonelli, first time subdivision builder.
From the Boston
Yeah,
area.
from Somerville.
It was only 7 lots.
That's right.
There's a lot of drainage problems down there.
Certainly.
The thing that I don't understand is the Greater Worcester Land Trust maintains properties all over Worcester and in that outer ring. I can't think of one property that I've been to that has an established parking lot. It's all dirt spaces. None of their, you know,
It's on fresh asphalt. It's just,
none of it's asphalt, yeah.
And we've been told that parking lots have to be asphalt. Is that
Yeah,
a
we don't
town?
we don't allow parking in Auburn on unpaved surfaces.
Okay, is that an Auburn bylaw, or is
Yeah.
it?
It's hard to find, but it's in the parking part of our bylaw, and any new development that adds parking spaces, those spaces have to be paved. So it's,
It's through the site plan approval
Right.
process, correct?
yes.
Right. You're not supposed to, you know, just have places where you can pull over off the road onto the dirt. So all your oil drippings and everything can just drip into the ground.
Yeah, I understand that, but when you look around at how many small areas or new businesses, you know, come through Charlton, Oxford, and it's gravel parking, it's, you know, or these little places that access a trailhead or something, there's no asphalt. I mean, I realize that there's a concern, and I'm certainly sensitive to that, but are we going a little bit overboard and sort of, you know, limiting to what we can do within our community with a regulation like that?
I think John's hitting on a valid point that's come up recently with the Mass Audubon and grant that we had regarding low impact development. And they'd like to see more or better methods for handling stormwater that isn't just asphalt going into a storm system. So it promotes ideas like pervious pavement and other alternatives like that to try to help filtration. So it's not necessarily the straight impervious surface to put it into a drain that's preferred anymore. So that idea, and that it's kind of changed in a sense in favor of what you just said.
But then you can read stories like the one in the paper today about Uxbridge, where they're accepting contaminated soils from all over the place off of some dark, dusty, obscure roads in the town.
Well,
And old gravel pits are being filled up with contaminated soil.
we had a business that wanted to come in Auburn at one point that was one of those soil reclamation businesses, and it didn't end up working out, but I remember
That's
something
good.
like that.
It's an amazing thing that is happening. You know, it's happened in Rutland.
Yeah, that's a big one, yeah.
And it's same players involved in both of these, and that's a little scary. But you know, I don't know if there's a lack of regulations there, or if there's just not the local control to prevent that type of thing. Because I mean, that's potentially disastrous on so many fronts. But I think that, you know, like you said, dripping oil out of a car. First of all, yeah, there's some cars that do drip oil, but most cars don't. You know, and a drop of motor oil isn't going to contaminate the whole area. I mean, honestly, when I was in the fire department, I remember responding to a call in the Sword Street Industrial Park where a guy had driven up onto a bank, changed the oil in his car over a manhole,
And poured it down the drain,
and
right?
just let it run down. It was a very expensive oil change for him. But, you know, that's a totally different type of deliberate abuse versus, you know, I mean, trucks drive down the road and how many times have, I mean, again, my experience is different, but hydraulic lines go on a truck. Garbage trucks are notorious for it for a while. I mean, with some of our previous contractors, you could follow the oil every time they did their roof.
Sure.
You know, and that to me is a serious problem. Having a parking lot that's gravel, compacted gravel, I don't know that it's that, unless it's a deliberate act, that it would be a real risk to anything. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not a conservationist. I just care, you know?
Well, there's always two sides to every story, but I remember the days when we had the paved conduits that ran down the side of the banking from the Auburn Mall parking lot and discharged everything that was in that parking lot into the brook. You know, that's how come that brook is such a contaminated mess that it is, or it's certainly a huge contributing factor. Thankfully, when they redid the mall, they got rid of those. I mean, it was a straight shot. You know, the parking lots drained that way into the corner and down over the banking it went into the water. You know, so I guess where do you draw the line? Right.
It was a point one time.
I mean, and that's a very valid point. Okay, I'm not trying to get totally off base here, but I guess what I'm suggesting is maybe for whoever the appropriate person, organization, whatever, to look at this, because, you know, to put in a gravel parking lot to open up some open space would be such a lower cost than doing it with asphalt.
To John's point, the one in Millbury is just a dirt parking lot. It's not paved.
So this is an Auburn rule.
It's not necessarily a requirement, but it'd be up to the interpretation of the code enforcement officer. It really depends on the situation.
The other thing is, I wonder if the planning board could grant a waiver.
The planning board used to enforce that rule. I don't know how that works now.
Yeah. We'd have to
We
look into
certainly
that.
do for site plan approval, but I don't know that a walking trail falls under our use categories. So,
We'll have to look into that.
Well, it would seem to me that until we decide on a use, I would think for the South Old Road property, where are you going to put it? Are you going to put it on the side nearer South Old Meadow Road, or are you going to put it on the side closer to the Pappas Rec site? Then you're looking at what is it, how much parking do you need, and do you put it on the South Old Meadow Road side, or do you add on somehow onto the Pappas Rec side to expand parking over there? I don't know.
I think there's numerous potential access points to this, and if you're trying to come up with a parking area that serves all of the site, it's virtually impossible. And it would have to be a big lot, like there is up at the Pappas complex. And this is why I bring up the whole gravel thing, is if you had a small lot with it held 8 cars or something, first of all, there wouldn't be a huge impact on a neighborhood if it's on a residential street. I'm not saying that anybody likes that stuff, but we all have traffic around our houses. That's the way of life. I live in a cut-through street, so I see a lot of it. And if there's some ways to think about accessing this property from different places that wouldn't put a huge burden on any one access road, is what I think what I'm looking at. I mean, I probably need to go over there just for my own satisfaction, is really look at this site. And not that I'm an expert, but maybe get some ideas going. I mean, we spend $3 million for a piece of property. It's a shame not to use it for anything.
yeah, that area that Matt is circling is fairly level.
It comes down.
So,
It comes down pretty decent on this lot. but I think if the road was proposed here for a reason, it could almost be like a dirt driveway to give 10 spots over here or something like that.
What about across the street on that other
These?
group of lots?
These
No,
aren't
the
ours.
other.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
I'd almost, that's a hill that comes down this way. From, towards the street. Comes off golf course for the most part.
How long into Cotton Ave? Is it too far away? That's probably too
Yeah.
far away, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the golf course property for the dog park, you were talking about the land across the street from the golf course itself, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, the parking lot.
That doesn't.
But you
Behind
can't
it.
lose your parking lot
No, you
because
can't.
that's the only parking lot you got for the golf course.
And it gets filled in there sometimes.
But yet there's still 60,000 square feet of
Unused space.
Yeah.
And that's an old gravel parking lot, but it's grandfathered, it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Just a suggestion for the committee. Would the committee be interested in doing a South Hill Road site visit for its August meeting?
If we have
If it were to have an August meeting. Well, it's just a thought.
It's a good idea.
Or not at all. It's just an idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I'm sort of saying, and if we did it as a group, I'd be
Sure.
more than happy to do that. Personally, I'm going to be unavailable for the first 3 weeks of August, so.
So it's pretty unlikely.
That's not gonna work.
I don't think this is we're not under the gun on this.
No.
I think that, you know, honestly, I wouldn't even mind waiting until September when it's a little bit cooler.
I was thinking the same
Sure,
thing.
You know,
Sure.
it's pretty miserable out there right now to walk.
It is, it's
Just a
peacefully.
thought. I think it'd be helpful for the committee to be there at the same time. Like the Conservation Commission has done for years, is they do
Yeah.
their site visits on weekends,
Yeah, right.
early, before it gets too hot.
Yeah, I've been, the
Yeah.
South Hill Road property, I mean, we've been, we've all been, conservation's been all over that,
Mm-hmm.
but, it's right, it's like, to me, it's challenging over there. I mean, I think it's beautiful property. A lot of people don't think so. But, to me, to have that much acreage open in our community is a gem. And, and it's not like it's flat. It's a hill. And those lots across the street are pretty steep too.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when those were cut and cleared with no erosion controls. And DEP got involved to have erosion controls put up there. Because the water was the rain was coming off and it was ending up down in the Blackstone River.
Yeah.
So it is challenging. It's topographically challenging.
Yeah, nice.
Is there any way to come in through? I don't know if this is gonna. That's probably not for sale, anyways. Like to give Charlotte that area, come through there, and that lower part, or
That's
side
on the other,
streets.
but that's on the other side of the diversion channel, isn't it?
That's not. I thought it was on the side. I thought it was
Which one are you talking about?
the gift shop in that
do
area.
you
All
know
the help
what-
we
do you know
can.
where that
Route
is?
20, the little red A-frame?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
That is the property between the edge of ours and Route 20.
Right,
It's what keeps us from Route 20.
right. So the only way you could access it was if we somehow purchased it, but you can't do that.
Received an easement.
Or got an easement, yeah.
Yeah. And it would be level all the way up from that notch.
They have parking
Oh.
constraints, as we saw
Yes.
when they came to the planning board.
They do there, but they have parking constraints?
Because of the diversion channel.
Right.
And a butts it.
Mm.
Hmm. Are there any restrictions on, the Army Corps of Engineers built that, so are there restrictions on how close you can go to it, do you know? Do they have a buffer?
We do not. I think their fence covers their buffer.
Okay,
Because the fence isn't right along the diversion channel, there's a significant amount of property between the actual waterway and the edge, but that's, the property line is the fence.
that's it.
Plus our side setbacks and the RB district are 10 feet, I think, for any use, but if it's just a walking trail, I don't think that's inhibited.
It's not a structure.
No, so, right.
It's worth looking into.
I think we could make that a goal of doing that. We could probably all get a better understanding of this and thinking about what we could do. You know, I just think about that space and go, I don't want to overdevelop it. Trust me, but having walking trails, bike trails, I think that would be an awesome place for it because it's big enough. You wouldn't be bumping into other people all that much. If it's possible to do that. And it wouldn't have a huge environmental impact.
Now that subdivision, there was a small subdivision that was approved, and I don't know how, is that still valid or is that expired? Do you know?
That's the one that Mark mentioned. The
That's
one on Carter
one.
Street.
The one that Mr. Post
Post,
had
yeah.
gotten approved
Salt
from the planning board.
Right. No, it's our property now.
Right,
So it's
but the subdivision, what happens to the subdivision plan like that?
technically still valid right now because of the Permit Granting Extension Act,
Okay,
but we would assume ownership of it. I think it was approved in like December of 2010, so we might still have about 5 months left on its shelf life.
and then after that, it's a void plan,
Automatically rescinded.
automatically rescinded.
Mhm.
Okay. There was a lot of site work that was done over there in anticipation of that site plan. It's a lot flatter down on that side.
I'll check that expiration just to be sure. I'll get that back to you.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah, there was a lot of work done down there in the water
Yes.
prior to the permitting for that subdivision. Mm. So, where do you want to go from here?
I don't know.
Schedule?
Yeah, that's a,
What was that?
Schedule? No.
Oh, schedule a site walk?
No, just your next meeting schedule as a committee. Decide when you want to meet next. 10 minutes.
Yes, no, I know. I just didn't know if there was more discussion on the,
I think we're talking around in circles sometimes without going out and seeing the site. I just see a value in that of
well, do you want to skip having a meeting in August and, you know, plan on a site visit after Labor Day?
it's fine by me.
that would me too.
I mean, if there's something that comes up and we need to meet, that's fine. But it seems like me we're so the wheels are churning and we're making some slow progress. That I don't know. Aside from a recommendation vote for something, I don't know what else we would do.
So is that the consensus then, to skip August? And then schedule,
Oh, yeah, be away part of August, and maybe that would work out.
you're going to be gone 3 weeks in August,
A
so.
few weeks. Yeah,
Sensible.
okay, yeah.
All right, so
First
what
time
is,
September.
what, well, after, I don't know what Labor Day,
What are we doing?
date Labor Day is
It's on
on.
my calendar.
Why don't we do an email? Can we do that legally? Maybe throw out a couple dates and see what works for people.
Yeah, we can discuss that, we just can't discuss any
Okay.
business.
I would say that let's wait until like later in August, throw out an email to everybody on the committee and the planners and see if we can, well, and if you think it's appropriate that anybody else go, you know, that would be fine. I'm sure there's some people that have some good knowledge of that site.
Now, are you talking about having a formal meeting on site?
We'd have to. You go on
Well, no,
there.
you wouldn't. The field, site visits are
You
exempt
don't?
from the open meeting law, from
Oh.
being posted, if they're just a site visit. But if you're gonna discuss business out there, then you gotta post it.
Well, so when we did the Veterans Card, we always had to post it when we did our site visits.
Well, I can't answer for that, I'm just telling you.
No.
Under the regulation, under conservation regulations, site visits don't require a posting. But you're not supposed to reach any decisions out in the field.
Sure, and certainly for any regulatory board for that matter. I just think, just to support what Mark's saying, maybe it's interesting just to post it with almost no itemized agenda, just in case you guys would like to discuss your potential recommendation while you're on site.
Yeah, I don't see any danger or harm in posting it.
Yeah, I don't think you need an itemized agenda with a motion to open, et cetera. It's
Yeah.
just having it posted.
Do you Do you think we should have town engineer or not? Just go out? I don't know.
I don't think so for you guys, some of you, you've never been there, Mark.
No, I've never been in. I mean, a long time I was a young kid I lived up there. I knew where it is. It's a nice shortcut to Worcester.
All right, so we've got a month to figure out when we're gonna do it.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
The public has two questions in a statement. First question is, when you say walking trail, are you using that as a generic term that indicates multi-use trail that would also include a bike trail? Or are you specifically walking?
You can answer
Sure,
that.
through the chair. Yes, as a
Multi-use
general
trail.
term, yes.
Okay.
We're not sure what width we're gonna have yet, based on the terrain, if it's most likely gonna be considered a hiking trail. And at that point, most likely accessible for mountain bikes, not necessarily like racing bikes, et cetera, so yeah.
At your last meeting, you also talked about there was some grant for bike racks, and you had some conversations about where to put them, and I was wondering where that has gone, if any place.
Eric?
I can speak to that. I had some conversations, wouldn't call them official, sort of off the table conversations with different, departments, different folks who are in and around town. Spoke with people at our Drury Square sort of vision meeting, and a lot of folks expressed a sense of non-support, I would say, for bike racks, feeling that Auburn is an unsafe environment in which to bike, and feeling hesitant to encourage, biking on Route 12 and Auburn Street.
Because this year I've seen more people biking when I've been biking than ever before.
Mhm.
It's every time I go out, someone else is biking.
Mhm.
And Pappas would be a nice place, especially if it's a walking trail. I think Pappas would be a place that would lend itself to having a bike rack.
Right,
Hard pressed to think of another place.
right.
And that's the end of my questions. And the only other statement is to Eric's point from before. Years and years ago at Lemansky Park, they had those outside exercise equipment you're referring to.
Top of
So
the
you
hill.
could run around it and do like pull-ups at this station, push-ups
Right,
at another.
exactly.
I don't know. I don't remember if that stuff was
Used-
synthetic or pressure treated, but it may still be around somewhere.
Mm,
Remember that stuff.
At least the signs should still be around.
right. Perhaps they could be repurposed if they are. Mm.
The only thing I'm concerned about with bike trails and walking trails, you gotta have it separated. A good
Decent width.
width, or even Jersey barrier or something.
Right.
I'm going overkill, but there's been close calls. I know people have been out there biking long bike trails down the Cape. They've had some close calls, so.
Yeah, it's through the chair, so depending on how wide we can get from engineering, missing some of the tight squeezes and the elevation issues that we have. We know that potentially if it all works along the base of the South Home Road property, that's reasonably flat and a long stretch that could be wide. But trying to get up to the Pappas Rec Complex from there, you're gonna need a serious set of strong legs and a very wide trail, so.
To that point, a lot of the bike trails in, for example, Rhode Island have signs saying pedestrians, walkers have the right of way, bikers, and then people on horseback or less. But there's always signs like every, pick a number, 200 yards, bike right, walk left. So it's stuff like that that helps too.
But the chair, they don't always obey those laws.
Yeah, of course.
Now, we still let people drive.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
That was it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next regular meeting, we're gonna decide in the latter part of August when in September it's gonna be, and we will post it. So the minutes from the June 20th meeting. I apologize for getting them to you so late, but sometimes the time just escapes.
Okay. Great job. Make a motion to accept them.
It just has 3 typos if you want to correct them, but other than that, that's all.
Did you circle them on your copy?
I did.
May I have?
I'll throw them over.
Thank you. That's perfect.
All right, so there's a motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second, oops.
I thought you made the
I
motion.
did, that's right, I'm
You
sorry.
did. So you're
Don't
gonna,
mind me.
Some people want
all those in favor?
I,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's getting to
So we
me.
don't have any correspondence, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
I.
aye.
So voted. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.